Welcome to the Direct Farm Podcast, the weekly listen for farm selling direct. We'll talk about the 4 levers for farm success, which are quality, brand, price, and convenience. We'll hear from outside industry experts and producers like you to delight your customers, save time, and to increase your direct farm sales and business. We're glad you're here. Welcome back to the Direct Farm Podcast, everybody. My name is Sebastian. I am on the marketing team, and today we have Allison here from the engineering team. Allison, could you go ahead and introduce yourself for everybody that's listening?
Yeah, my name is Allison. I'm a software engineer on the application team. So I work on the features that our farmers and their buyers use.
Why did you apply to Barn to Door?
Yeah, so when I was looking for a new opportunity, I was really looking for something a little bit different, a little bit more of a challenge than where I was at the time. And I found Barn to Door, and the description immediately jumped out to me. Just the mission specifically, and just even how excited it sounded like in the application description about, what we're doing for our farmers and what they're doing for sustainability and the food system and the planet. It really stood out to me. So yeah, I gave it a shot and ended up here.
Yeah. So where were you at before you came here?
I was at a bigger company that did sort of e-discovery work, software for lawyers, basically. Something that I definitely would not have used just as like a casual, in my
Yeah.
personal life.
So you never got to see like what the end users were going to be using it for, or I guess you kind of had to know what it was for, but you never got to actually use it, or you would never need to.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like I knew what it did, but to be honest, like I would never know as a user how to actually use it. It's like a bunch of lawyers. I didn't really know what it means. Like, you have your requirements that they set for you, but you don't really know exactly how they're going to use it. So very different to develop for it. Yeah.
How long were you there for?
I was there for probably about 3 years, maybe a little bit less. Yeah, it was time to move on, do something different. Felt a little bit stuck in a rut, and this was just, yeah, worked out great.
How would you kind of describe your day-to-day responsibilities at Barn to Door?
Yeah. So, I mean, every day starts with a stand up meeting, which is pretty typical of an engineering job. You just check in, say what you worked on the day before and what you're planning on working on today. And you might have a few discussions at that time or throughout the day about, what you're working on. But for the most part, you just get a lot of time to sit down and code, which is, something I really love. Like you really get to be in the zone and you get to make a lot of decisions yourself. You might have to like double check with somebody that this is good, but you get a ton of responsibility to just go in and like code the way you think it should be. And yeah, just go for it.
Right. And then I guess how does the feedback work? Did they just say, no, this is not good, start over?
I mean, hopefully asked some questions before you get to that point. Yeah, you do get a lot of feedback throughout the way. And I mean, the way that, developing software is usually done is you develop in a little bit of chunks and then you send it up for what's called a code review. And then you have some peer reviewing on that. And they look at the code, how it works. Like, does that make sense? Are there any like bugs that might be introduced? But they also can take that opportunity to take a look at what it's doing and ask the question like, is that the right way to do it? Is that something that would be good for our farmers to do it that way? There's always a lot of edge cases like that. So you definitely get feedback that way too.
How would you guys discover what you guys need to work on as far as problems you need to fix, solutions you need to develop?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, a lot of it has to do with something that's really specific to farmers, like the seasonality of like their yearly cycle. So just like for an example, in the springtime for like the produce farmers, CSAs are really important, getting people signed up for, summer vegetables and subscriptions. And so knowing that the product team, they took a look like this past winter and were like, okay, so what needs aren't being met for subscriptions and came up with this list of things like this would be really great if we could implement this before springtime so that farmers get the chance to use it right away, like constant conversation with the farmers and like what are their needs.
What's different about working at Barn to Door versus anywhere else?
Oh yeah, I mean almost everything is different, honestly. I think probably like a big thing that stands out is really how genuinely people care about the product and about our farmers and about their buyers. You feel closer to the product as it's something that makes sense to you and like it makes you care about it more than, like software that you're never going to use in your personal life. I have a personal Barn to Door account and I bought stuff off there just because it's great and I I like using it. And that's something that never would have happened in my last job.
What's it like being part of a rapidly growing engineering team?
Well, it's a lot of fun. It's definitely exciting to see the team grow and just like how much more we can get done, in a month. We have feature releases every 2 weeks, and most of those feature releases are releasing something pretty big just because there's so many people, even if they take 2 months to work on it. Yeah. So that's really been cool just to see like how much output there is as the team grows.
Why do you like working at Barn Door?
I really like personally the challenge and the responsibility that you get. Like, I feel like responsibility sounds like a scary thing. I've really enjoyed just being able to make a lot of decisions, like I was saying earlier, and being able to just be in the zone and push features out.
Yeah, it is really freeing, when you get a lot of autonomy to do your own thing, but obviously you're not doing it without any rails.
Yeah. No, there are like guidelines, but like every feature that you build, there's going to be a gazillion ways that you could design it, and some are going to be better than others, and some are going to address edge cases better than others. So we write up what's called a design doc where we kind of go over like the architecture or like design of how we want to code it. And you get to talk about that with like your peers and discuss the pros and cons, which is always fun. But you always like have a say though, even if, your team lead is like, well, I think it would make more sense to do it that way. If you really put the effort into knowing how it works and you want to push a little bit and say, no, I really think it would work better this way, like you totally can do that.
How would you describe what the company culture is like here at Barn Door?
It's a lot of energy, I would say. Definitely a lot of just like company bonding events. There's like a cornhole tournament scheduled. There's, certain challenges, like a step challenge coming up. There's trivia 4 days a week, and you can win prizes at the big meetings on Thursdays. A lot going on, and always encouragement to do things outside of company time, all sorts of things. Like they really encourage being together as a team and getting to know each other, which I think does make you even better coworkers because you really know each other's strengths and how to communicate better and all that.
What is working at a startup like?
Definitely fast paced. Fast paced, lots of responsibility. I think at a more established company, you might feel like your contribution doesn't matter as much just because there's so much that's already existed and so many other people. But yeah, that's something I really like about being at a startup. Like it really feels close, like dear to my heart. I want it to succeed.
Is there anything you'd like to say to a potential candidate, someone that's like looking to apply on Barn Door, or maybe they've already dropped their application in and they're maybe looking for words of advice from a fellow software engineer?
That's a good question. I think I would probably say that this is really the right position for you if you're really feeling stuck in whatever you're doing and you really want to do something that the mission really speaks to you and you're ready to put a lot of work into it. Yeah, I think this is a really good place to do that and to really grow. As someone in early career, I just feel like this is a really great place to do that if that's where you are in your career and life. Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for coming onto the podcast, Allison. Really appreciate your time. And yeah, we'll be signing off. Thank you for listening to this episode of the Direct Farm Podcast. You can subscribe anywhere you listen to podcasts to automatically download new episodes. For more free resources that you can read, watch, and listen to, visit farmtodor.com/resources. Thank you again for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week.